Let's first set aside the fact that this is coming straight from Fox News, and by all my accounts is far from being unbiased. Let's also set aside the fact that thousands of Americans is far from being a large portion of the more than 314 million Americans in population in the United States of America. Now, let's move on to my thoughts concerning this and the ever-seeming separation of the old red state, blue state Americans. In my opinion, some of our country has been going this way for years. They, being primarily Republican conservatives versus Democrat liberals, don't agree with the other side on many issues. So rather than trying to work with them and compromise for the good of our country, they continue to push the other half away, demonizing any other views and alienating half the country. This is an observation of generalization, by the way, and does not apply to everyone. As bad as many seem to accuse President Obama of being, I guarantee many of us from the other side of this spectrum felt complete anxiety and maybe even terror at the direction our country was going under the second Bush. I say many of us, not all, and maybe not even most, but I do wonder. This was a heavy weight and burden on our conscience, especially after Bush II was reelected. For people that hold toward liberal values and views, which are not bad, unchristian, or evil, just different than conservative. Many of the things that were happening and being pushed by the Bush administration seemed like they were being pushed through with no opposition. And all Republicans walked lockstep with every decision, while some Democrats followed, either because they leaned conservative, were afraid to push away conservative voters, or because they chose to compromise. Something the other side seems to see as disloyal breaking of ranks and tradition on their side. I know I felt like his policies were terrible for our country, our economy, our people, and our soldiers. Yet if anyone or any groups made any attempt to speak out on anything, they were mislabeled as un-American, unchristian, evil, and dismissed as extremists. Massive changes were pushed through with no struggle because the side with so much power at the time could get away with it. In the end, the two major wars of that time seemed to go on with no hope of ending. Assault weapons ban was ignored so it would lapse, knowing that conservatives wouldn't dare cross the NRA. Economy took a free fall that did not slow until well into the next term after Bush was gone. Personal freedoms and security of those freedoms massively deteriorated in the name of security. The rich grew ever richer, while the middle class were told it would help them. Yet it did the opposite. We were all given a tax credit. In return, found incredible hikes in prices, rates, and fees of almost everything, which far outpaced any rise in income. Yeah, right. Rise in income? What a joke. Even with all the tragedy that seemed to befall our country during the Bush years, somehow we still made it out as a country. Divided, but still a country. You can say that Obama is destroying our country, but as far as I can tell, we have been destroying and dividing our country for decades. Conservatives are pissed off about a health care plan and that the economy hasn't bounced back as much as our hope and change idealism had hoped. Sorry, but that does not hold a candle to the massive issues that liberals felt were weighted on our country's shoulders during the fun times of the Bush administration. which we felt was every bit as horrendous as conservatives feel Obama has been for our country. I personally hate that people try to dismiss our anger and frustration with the Bush administration simply because they say it is in the past. Well, that past has continued to influence the negative direction of this country, and we certainly should not ignore it and brush it aside. Just because this is a different administration and a different time, we have every right to look at history in order to try to learn from our past mistakes and improve our country's future. Conservatives seem to attach their entire political views on a very small handful of issues. In this current case, the big ones seem to be the healthcare policy enacted by the Obama administration, a false premise that they will lose gun rights, and the never-ending view that lax moral laws, i.e., homosexual issues, abortion, birth control, corporal punishment, and the use of Christian religion in public, are deteriorating our country and society. I do not see Democrats as being so nearsighted and one-sided, but I am a Democrat and certainly have my own bias. I feel like we try to consider many issues when we decide our political views. I hear so many conservatives make claims to the effect of, we are just drinking the Kool-Aid, repeating Democratic talk points, falling victim to political pandering, uneducated, ignorant, do not research, just don't get it, etc., etc., etc. Yet that is almost the exact perception that some of us have of many conservatives. In reality, these claims do absolutely nothing to address the real issues and the often real valid differences in opinion, values, perception, and views of what the differing sides hold. We tend to hold any hope of compromise or attempt to understand our differing views hostage by instead focusing on and attacking the claims I listed above. I will say that they are not important and not the real issue, though they have some importance and break down any real attempt at compromise. They do not get to the real issues. They don't address the roots of our problems or differences. So long as we work so hard to fight against each other, push so adamantly to demonize each other, refuse to really listen to our grievances and concerns on all sides, not just these two major parties, refuse to compromise or work together, and continue to address the claims I discussed above without working at our root problems and disagreements, this partisan divide will continue. This divide could become more prevalent, more extreme, and maybe even more persistent. Those thousands signing this horrible petition could become millions. And this country that is so divided by ideology could become far more divided physically. Would seceding from the United States of America help? I do not see this as any kind of help for any true American. It flies in the face of all our forefathers ever stood for and fought for in America. We are the United States of America. And if we truly want to help or fix any of these real problems in our country, we need to work really hard on trying not to be the divided states of America. Instead, we need to be working together to improve our country, understand our reaching and diverse views, which are nothing new, by the way, and trying to address real issues, real root differences, without jumping to demonizing tactics that do nothing to fix anything. We need to heal this country. And we cannot do it by going our separate ways, dismissing each side's views and shutting down when things don't go our way. I love my country. And so does every other Democrat, Republican, independent, religious, non-religious, liberal, conservative, moderate, loving, hating, caring, and non-caring American in this country. We are a very diverse country with very diverse views, and we need to stop being so afraid of diversity. It is not a bad word or a bad thing until we make it one. And it is a beautiful thing that makes our country amazing. So amazing that countries around the world have looked up to our system, to our ways, and our country's basic characteristics as an example to emulate and reach for something better. We seem to be falling from those very characteristics that others have tried and succeeded in bringing to their own countries. And falling from who and what we were, we are also falling in prestige, opinion, power, education, and healthcare. Sliding in ratings in many areas because we have disconnected ourselves from each other and told ourselves that we are right and they are wrong. Rather than being the United States of America, we are pushing ever harder to become the divided states of what once was America. This is not what I want for our country. And I hope it is not what you want for our country. If not, we have got to try harder to look past our petty differences and work on understanding our real, big differences while trying to come up with win-win choices most of us can agree on, and working to compromise on some of those things we cannot seem to agree on. I personally would prefer to set aside any issue that we cannot come to any real agreement on, while only pushing hard on things that we can come to an agreement on. That is not realistic, though. And some of the issues we cannot agree on will still need to be worked on eventually. Nevertheless, wouldn't it be nice to work primarily on things we can agree on, instead of focusing so hard on only the things which we can't seem to agree on? I think that could be a very healing and refreshing process to follow most of the time.